December 1943. A freezing night. A German supply train thunders through occupied France, cutting through snow-covered tracks. Ammunition, medical supplies, winter uniforms, all bound for the Eastern Front. The locomotive driver has no idea. His death is only minutes away. 2:47 a.m. A catastrophic explosion. The boiler tears apart like paper. Metal fragments scatter through the air. The driver? Dead instantly. 17 freight cars derail. 300 tons of supplies meant for Stalingrad burn in the snow, reduced to ash. German investigators arrive. They scour the crime scene. Coal scattered everywhere. Just coal. Nothing suspicious. No detonator. No timer. Nothing. Their conclusion? Boiler failure. Mechanical malfunction. Case closed. But what the Germans don't know, this is only the beginning. This will happen again, and again, and again. By the end of the war, this invisible weapon will destroy over 1,000 German locomotives. Supply lines across Europe will collapse. The entire system will descend into chaos that German engineers will never understand. And the most terrifying part? This weapon looks exactly like a lump of coal. An ordinary piece of coal. This is the story of the world's most ingenious sabotage weapon. A device so perfectly disguised, this is the story of the world's most ingenious sabotage weapon. A device so perfectly disguised that the enemy could hold it in their hands and never know they were holding their own death. This is the story of explosive coal. 1942. The German war machine is at its peak. But there's one critical weakness. One vulnerability the Allies are desperate to exploit. Logistics. Everyone talks about tanks, U-boats and panzer divisions, but the truth is, wars aren't won by tanks. Wars are won by the trains that fuel those tanks. The locomotives that carry ammunition to the front lines. The coal-fired engines that transport food, medical supplies, winter clothing. In 1942, Nazi Germany controlled the largest rail network in history. Over 300,000 kilometers of track. From the Atlantic coast to the gates of Moscow. Every single day, thousands of locomotives hauled supplies eastward to feed the endless hunger of the Eastern Front. And every single locomotive ran on coal. Coal yards at every railway junction. Coal depots at every station. Coal was the backbone of German logistics. And then, Winston Churchill's Special Operations Executive, so had an idea. If coal is everywhere, completely ordinary, then coal could be the perfect disguise. But the question was, could you turn coal into a weapon? A weapon that looks like coal, but kills like a bomb? The answer was about to come from London in a secret workshop, where they didn't train soldiers. They trained deceivers. And what they were about to create would change warfare forever. A weapon so simple, so perfectly camouflaged, that even when the Germans discovered what it was, they still couldn't stop it. Because how do you fight an enemy when you can't tell the difference between your fuel and your death? The clock was ticking. The weapon was being designed. And soon, German trains would start exploding. From the inside. London, 1941. A nondescript building on Baker Street. From the outside, completely normal. Inside? Station 15, the SOE's secret research facility. The people working here aren't soldiers. They're chemists, engineers, inventors. Their job? Create weapons that don't look like weapons. Devices that slip past guards through checkpoints into the heart of enemy territory without raising any suspicion. One of them is Stuart McCrae, an expert in camouflage. But not the kind you wear, the kind you hide weapons inside. McCrae has already created explosive rats, booby-trapped wine bottles, briefcases that detonate when opened. Now, A new assignment. Build a device that can destroy a locomotive from within. Something French resistance fighters can plant in German coal supplies. Something so convincing, so perfectly ordinary, that even trained railway workers will never notice. McCrae starts thinking. The plan is simple, but execution? A nightmare. The concept. Take a lump of coal. Hollow it out. Fill it with plastic explosive. Seal it. Paint it. Make it identical to real coal. Then plant it in a coal yard, tender, storage bunker, anywhere. Eventually, some railway worker will shovel it into a firebox. The locomotive's fire will heat the fake coal. The explosive will reach detonation temperature, and the boiler will explode from within. But making this work? Not easy. Real coal isn't uniform. Every lump is different. Different size. Different shape. Different color. Some are shiny black anthracite. Others are dull brown lignite. Some have cracks. Fossil imprints. If the fake coal looks even slightly wrong, a sharp-eyed worker might notice, might report it. The entire operation would be compromised. McCrae needs perfection. And perfection demands obsession. He starts collecting coal samples from across Europe. British intelligence smuggles pieces from Holland, Poland. McCrae studies them under microscopes. Texture, weight, density, color variations, everything. Then he begins creating molds. He takes actual coal lumps and makes plaster casts. Every crack captured. Every surface imperfection. Every detail. Inside? Nobel 808 plastic explosive. This is critical. Nobel 808 is stable. It won't detonate from shock or impact. It only explodes when heated to approximately 160 degrees Celsius, exactly the temperature inside a locomotive firebox. Testing begins. A fake coal lump is placed in a furnace. Temperature rises. 158 degrees Celsius. Nothing happens. 162 degrees Celsius. Boom! The furnace door blows across the workshop. Metal fragments embed in the ceiling. Perfect. Now comes the disguise. McCrae's team hand-paints each fake lump. Black paint mixed with coal dust for texture. Brown streaks for realism. Some glossy, some matte. Each one unique. Each one a tiny masterpiece of deception. Final touch? Wait. Real coal has specific density. If the fake is too light, it feels wrong in the hand. Too heavy, it sinks differently in a pile. McCrae adjusts the explosive to shell ratio until the weight matches perfectly. Early 1942. The weapon is ready. Official designation: the coal scuttle. But field operatives call it what it is: explosive coal. Production begins. Hundreds of fake lumps manufactured every week. Each batch customized. French coal for France. But making the weapon Polish is only half the challenge. The real question: how do you get it into enemy territory? Into German coal supplies? Without anyone noticing? Without anyone suspecting that their fuel has become their executioner? Occupied France, 1942. The railways are controlled by Germans, but the workers, French, railway men, coal yard laborers, depot managers, maintenance crews, and many of them hate the occupation. Many are willing to risk their lives to fight back. In the dead of night, so agents parachute into France. With them, 20 to 30 explosive coal lumps, a small cache. But enough to create devastation. The agents contact resistance cells, explain the weapon, demonstrate how it works, then give strict instructions. Don't place the coal directly into a locomotive, too obvious, too traceable. Instead, scatter it into coal piles at rail yards. Mix it with real coal in storage bunkers. Drop a few lumps into tenders when guards aren't looking. Let the coal flow naturally through the logistics system. The beauty of this approach? Plausible deniability. When a locomotive explodes, Germans will investigate. But what will they find? No saboteur, no wire, no timer, no detonator, just coal. And coal is everywhere. How can you trace one lump of coal back to a specific source? March 1942. The first documented success. A German munitions train explodes outside Lyon. The locomotive's boiler tears apart, ignites ammunition in the freight cars. The explosion is so powerful it destroys a section of track. 12 soldiers dead. German investigators comb through the wreckage. Their conclusion? Faulty boiler valve. Report filed as mechanical failure. 2 weeks later, another explosion. This time near Rouen. A troop transport locomotive detonates while pulling out of the station. Driver and fireman killed instantly. Train derails. 200 soldiers stranded for 6 hours. Again, Germans find no evidence of sabotage. Again, equipment failure. By summer 1942, reports are flooding in from across occupied Europe. Belgium, Holland, Denmark, Norway, Poland. Everywhere resistance has access to coal supplies. Locomotives are mysteriously exploding. Germans start noticing a pattern. But the cause? They can't identify it. August 1942. German railway officials issue a directive. All coal delivered to military trains must be inspected. Visually examine every lump before it goes into a tender. But this is impossible. A single locomotive tender holds 8 to 10 tons of coal. Thousands of. Inspecting every piece would take hours. The railways would grind to a halt, so inspections are cursory at best. Workers just glance at the coal. Look for anything obviously wrong. But explosive coal looks exactly right. Passes every visual check. The sabotage continues. Late 1942, so expands the program. Explosive coal now being dropped in Italy, Yugoslavia, Greece, anywhere Germans rely on coal-fired locomotives. The weapon is deployed. Some resistance cells get creative. In France, railway workers develop a technique, coal bombing runs. Late at night, they drive a truck to a rail yard. Scatter 50 explosive lumps across multiple coal piles in under 10 minutes. Then vanish. Over the next few weeks, locomotives randomly explode as the tainted coal works through the system. In Poland, resistance fighters bribe coal yard supervisors. They plant explosive lumps in stockpiles destined for Eastern Front supply lines. Trains explode deep inside Soviet territory, hundreds of kilometers from where the sabotage occurred. Germans are losing locomotives faster than they can replace them. Each destroyed engine means delayed supplies, delayed reinforcements, delayed evacuations. The cumulative effect? Devastating. But the weapon has another impact, one the so never anticipated: paranoia. German railway workers start fearing the coal itself. Locomotive crews refuse to shovel fuel. Some engineers demand every lump be broken apart and inspected before going into the firebox. Operations slow even further. In some regions, German commanders order all coal supplies dumped and replaced with verified stock from German mines. But this is logistically impossible. Not enough manpower. Not enough trucks. Not enough time. The fear 1943. Reports coming in. German firemen are throwing entire coal loads off tenders, refusing to use fuel they don't trust. Trains sit idle, schedules collapse, and the explosions? They continue. Early 1943, Denmark. A Danish resistance cell receives 60 explosive coal lumps from an SOE airdrop. They plant them in a stockpile at the Copenhagen rail yard. Over the next 2 months, 9 German locomotives explode. the railway system in Denmark essentially shuts down. Germans are forced to divert trains through Sweden, adding days to delivery schedules. The Danish resistance repeats the operation. Another 60 lumps. Another wave of explosions. By mid-1943, German commanders in Denmark are requesting armored trains. Why? They no longer trust standard locomotives. But the weapon isn't perfect. There are failures. Sometimes the explosive doesn't detonate. Sometimes resistance fighters are caught planting coal and executed. Sometimes fake lumps are discovered before reaching a firebox. In one incident in Belgium, a German railway inspector finds a suspicious piece of coal. Feels slightly wrong. He cracks it open with a hammer. Inside, the entire coal yard is immediately locked down. Every lump inspected. Dozens of explosive pieces discovered and removed. Germans issue a new directive. All coal must be broken apart before use. But again, impractical. Breaking apart 10 tons of coal per locomotive? Impossible. The directive is quietly abandoned after 2 weeks. By 1944, SO estimates explosive coal has destroyed over 1,000 locomotives. This number is probably conservative. Many explosions never reported, many attributed to other causes. The true toll may be significantly higher, but the impact goes beyond numbers. The weapon forces Germans to divert resources. Security personnel guard coal yards. Engineers inspect supplies. Replacement locomotives manufactured, all draining resources from the front lines. More importantly, the weapon creates chaos in German logistics. Trains delayed. Supplies don't arrive on schedule. Commanders can't rely on rail transport. The entire system becomes unpredictable. And unpredictability in war? Deadly. There's one final twist. Late 1944. Allied forces advance across Europe, capturing German documents. Among them, intelligence reports about explosive coal. The reports reveal something fascinating. The Germans knew about explosive coal as early as mid-1942. They had captured samples, analyzed the design, understood exactly how it worked. But they couldn't stop it. Even with full knowledge of the weapon, even with warnings issued to every railway depot, even with inspections and security measures, the sabotage continued. Why? Because the weapon was too simple, too perfectly camouflaged, too easy to deploy. You cannot guard against something that looks exactly like the thing you need to use. After the war, Stuart McCrae was asked if he was proud of his creation. His response? He wasn't proud. He was satisfied. Satisfied that he'd created a weapon that worked exactly as intended. A weapon causing maximum disruption with minimum risk to operatives. Explosive coal was never glamorous. It didn't win battles. It didn't destroy armies, but it did something more insidious. It corroded trust. It created fear. It made Germans question the most basic element of their logistics network. And in doing so, it helped win the war. The fake coal that destroyed 1,000 German trains wasn't a miracle weapon. It wasn't high-tech. It wasn't sophisticated. It was just a lump of painted plaster filled with explosive. But sometimes, the simplest ideas are the most devastating.